Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 184 of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is David Howe.
My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is Patrick Nisley.
Oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest for you on tonight's episode. We got the one and only Cina Saffary back on the show. How's it going, Cina?
Pretty good. Glad to be back.
Oh, yeah. Always a pleasure having Cina on. We have you on this week, Cina, because we're talking all about the Virtual Boy, Nintendo's notoriously most failed console of all time. Cina's got it in the background of the video version of today's episode, which you can find on YouTube, by the way. We'll be talking all about the Virtual Boy, some of the history, what went wrong with the system, and also, do we think Nintendo's ever going to try virtual reality ever again? We're going to talk about all that stuff and more on today's episode. We've also got a ton of news to go over as well. The results of the Splatfest are in, ladies and gentlemen. Also a new Splatoon update. Scarlet and Violet Pokemon games are coming out this weekend. And there's a big 10-year anniversary this weekend. The anniversary of what? May surprise you. Make sure you tune into the news to find out what that is. But anyway, with all that said, how are we doing, guys? You guys have a good week?
Pretty good over here. I got engaged last week.
Congratulations,
man.
Love is real.
Oh, very good. Very good. I had a great time at your engagement party. What a fun experience. I liked your little room with the VHS tape and everything. That was great.
Yeah, I'm lately into deconverting or down converting content. I've been thinking about VHS a lot. So making like these 4K videos and putting them on VHS and having that lo-fi experience.
Yeah, it was cool.
It's fun.
Yeah, I had a great time.
Thanks, dude.
What about you, Patrick? How was your week?
Oh, it's all right. I'm up and down, but I'm okay. I don't know. I can get into it, but we don't have to. I just feel like like I don't know. Some days I feel like I'm doing the thing, and then some days I feel like, what am I doing? And I think I just have to take a couple steps back.
Well, with like game dev, you mean?
Yeah. Like I have to I think I realized I got to change some stuff about my game to make certain features work, and so it feels a little frustrating, but it's part of the process, I think.
Yeah, I feel you.
And that is up and down. That's okay.
Well, if it helps you move along, your game is fun as shit. I've played the demo now like 10 times. I cannot wait for that Linux build that you promised me a couple days ago.
I know. That's where I was like, I got to maybe stop. I can't, like, that's where I was like, I really wanted at the end of the month or around Thanksgiving to have another build out. But I think what I need to do instead is focus on getting everything working so that
totally
I can actually get everything working.
Hell yeah, man. Got to put the pedal to the metal.
Yeah.
I'm doing okay. I played a lot of Splatoon this weekend. Sunday was a heavy Splatfest day. And did, just a shit ton of that. Won a 100X battle, by the way, with a team of Howdy Hat champions.
Nice.
And played one match where we all used Bloblobbers, and that was also very fun. But yeah, really great times with the Discord. What about you, Cina? How was your week?
A little up and down. So I've been doing a lot of traveling lately. 2 weeks ago, I was in New York for a work trip, and then I was back for 4 days. Then I got laid off of my job.
Oh no!
And then the next
Sorry
day,
to hear that.
Yeah, it's a bummer. The next day, I flew out to San Diego for my friend's bachelor party. And then from there, I went to LA for another friend's wedding. And I just got back home yesterday. And the reality of being laid off has sunk in today.
It's finally sunk in.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that. You're a very talented programmer and coder, and I'm sure you'll find your footing. Maybe Twitter might have some openings.
Sounds like you don't get a free lunch anymore. I don't know.
Everyone who works at Twitter still run away.
Yeah. Well, I hope you find something soon, or for as long as you feel like being gainfully unemployed.
Yeah. Well, last week we talked about Bayonetta 3. We got a couple of comments over on the Discord. Carasetta said, great episode. And they don't even care about Bayonetta. So, it's a good episode. And Ivy said, always love a summer episode. And then over on the YouTube, AVK said that they too are addicted to Splatoon 3, and that AVK unlocked his third catalog. Gee whiz, that's a bit embarrassing, but also a humble flex. Yeah. I am impressed. That's a lot of Splatoon.
Somebody that I may or may not have been playing Splatoon with yesterday told me that they were on their fourth catalog. So people out there playing.
For those of us, me, who, what does that mean on your fourth catalog?
So basically, there are 2 leveling up bars in Splatoon 3. There's a regular level, which scales. The higher level you get, the more points you have to get to actually level up. Catalog is a flat, I think it's 9,500 points to level up each level. But if you've done that 4 times and there's 100 levels, you do the math because I don't want to.
Like I'm
it's
only
like
on
a lot of points. Yeah, it's like a battle pass, but it's free. And we'll actually get to it in the news here in a second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
well, I think for context, I'm on my second catalog and it's not even halfway done, and I've got like 150 hours in the game. So these people that are on their third or fourth must have doubled my time. Though,
although I will say
more catalog points in different modes, and I play one that doesn't earn as much. So
that's right. Salmon Run is a notoriously low amount. So I'm impressed you're at that catalog level, given that you only play Salmon Run.
Pretty much do.
That's really impressive. Yeah.
All right. Well,
now that we've lost all of our non-Splatoon playing audience,
let's talk more about Splatoon.
We've lost all of them, but we've gained new ones.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, yeah, we can let's move on to the news and we'll talk about more Splatoon. We'll open it with that. So the Splatfest, second official Splatfest of Splatoon 3, just wrapped up, and it was themed around Pokemon starters. There was a grass, fire, and water team, and Team Water dominated. There's like 4 categories that get points in this weird metric that they use, and they got all 4 categories.
Which means Squirtle wins.
Squirtle wins.
Yeah, or Ducksworth, or whatever that new Pokemon's name is. Quaxley,
yeah. Quaxley.
Ducksworth was close.
The points that
his name is Quaxley Ducksworth. Is certainly his full name. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There might be like a Vaughn in the middle or something. Anyway, so the Splatfest happened. I don't know if there's anything about that. Anybody else?
I mean, I'll say this about the Splatfest. I had a way better time this time in the Splatfest. I feel like the tricolor battles now seem to be way better weighted. I feel like in the tricolor mode, I was getting them like 1 every 3 matches, or it was like a 30% chance or something of me getting them, which before it was like a 0.3% chance or something like that. Right. So whatever they did in the background, they fixed that. They were actually fun, and I'm glad I did them for a little bit. And then also I think, despite the fact that we were all on Team Grass and we lost, which is really sad, I think that they've done something to the connection issues. I don't know about you, Patrick. I don't know what your experience was, but I think throughout the entire Splatfest, and I played through a lot of the weekend, I think I maybe had like 2 or 3 connection errors. And in fact, I've had more since the Splatfest ended than I did during the Splatfest. So I wonder if they like really bolstered it up, knowing that a lot of people would be playing that weekend.
Maybe. I feel like in general, I don't have tons of them, but they still happen maybe with a frequency that would annoy people that don't play Nintendo online multiplayer games. But yeah, I also think that, when you're playing with the same 4 people, which I think you were, or 3, whatever, like that just seems to help. You know what I mean? Like the fewer randoms involved, the better. I don't know. But the other big Splatoon news is that the second season, they're calling it Chill Season, of Splatoon 3 is happening starting in December. They put out a video, like a 2-minute long video, which doesn't have any real explanation. It just kind of shows some of the stuff. So I expect that we will get more specifics over the next couple of weeks. But, they showed off some new, gear and stages. And then they showed off something I'm excited about, something in Salmon Run called Big Run. which is also kind of vague. But it seems to be a large stage. Is kind of
It
what
was
looks like.
Wahoo World.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the amusement park.
Yeah, they're like rotating one. Yeah.
So-
which is cool that it'll be like on an actual stage, Salmon Run.
Yeah. So yeah, we got that to look forward to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited about that. I think I know we're getting at least 2 stages. I think they said we're getting 2 new stages, and a bunch of new weapons, and then a brand new catalog as well will be coming out at that same time. So it is very similar, Matt, to like a battle pass.
What's the catalog again? I'm just kidding.
Have you played Splatoon 3?
Yeah.
Well-
But not for 120 hours, everyone. I'm sorry. I'm in love. I got engaged. Did I mention
busy.
that?
Oh, good for you.
Busy over here making VHS tapes about my
Good for
engagement.
you.
Something else to look forward to more immediately is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet coming out. 2 days after this podcast releases. We don't have much to talk about here because there's not. I mean, I guess we could talk about leaks because there's been tons of them, but we're not gonna spoil anything for anybody. There have been no official reviews as of our recording, so I expect in the next day or two there'll be some reviews. What do y'all think? There's no, the embargo's got to go up at some point.
I might be wrong here, but I feel like Nintendo embargoes go up like 48 hours before the game comes out a lot of times, right? I feel like it's not like a whole week ahead of time. That'd be something I'd like to look up actually, but I am a little concerned. I mean, I'm very much looking forward to what these reviews are going to look like, and I'm very curious if people are actually going to like this game. I know they just pushed their first like day 1 patch, so like people reviewing the game like I already have patched copies of the game, right? So yeah, I just can't believe we're this close. It seemed like it was so far away not that long ago.
I've been watching a few reviews for people who have played it or put over 100 hours into it. So far, they seem overwhelmingly positive that this game has a lot of content, and it should sustain people's attention for many months.
Nice.
Cool. Here for that.
Well, we'll I'm sure have more to say about that next week. This past week there was an Indie World presentation. Yeah, I mean I think last week it was announced, and then it happened right around the same time as our podcast coming out last week, so last Wednesday. I thought this was a pretty pleasant 20-something minute indie presentation. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed watching it, and there was a nice mix of genres and art styles, and probably something in here for most folks if you like indie games, I would say. I don't know, overall.
Yeah, a lot of these looked really, really good, I think. A couple of standouts for me was there's one called Dordogne, which is like, it kind of reminds me of those like, what's the like My Summer Vacation series or whatever? Like there's one that recently came out for the Switch. The like a little anime kid who like runs around in like a little Japanese town, and it's like looks like a Ghibli movie almost. But anyway, it kind of reminds me of that, right? It's like you go back to your hometown, and it's kind of like concurrent stories with you at your current age, and then you as a child having these memory flashbacks. And just the art style for that is like out of this world gorgeous. I don't think I've ever seen a game that looks like this. It's got this beautiful like watercolor art style. Mm-hmm. So that one definitely looks really cool to me. There's a game where you do improv theater, and I'm like, I do not want to play that.
I thought that looked fun, but a little wacky. But I'm curious about it. Once Upon a Jester was its name. Yeah. I wonder what that'll play like.
Finally.
We're seeing. Yeah.
Yeah. We have
improvisers.
We're represented in the video game industry.
I don't know
but
if
it looks lame.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it looked okay.
It's musical improv.
It might be all right. We'll see. It definitely the limitations of what that will be like. I'm kind of curious.
Yeah.
The game kind of stand out for me was Pepper Grinder. I thought that looked pretty cool. Sort of a pixel art. I don't know, platformer, Metroidvania. I'm not really sure exactly, but where you dig through dirt I just liked the aesthetic of it, and
Mhm.
I like playing fast-paced games, and it kind of looked like there's like a lot of movement and in terms of like digging through and jumping around.
Mhm.
So
I'm
that
into
looked
any
up my
game
alley.
that allows me to dig through sand.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like
It's
that stuff
what's
too.
Super Mario Brothers 2, where you like dig up the sand in the later worlds.
That part feels real nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
That part does feel real nice.
Yeah, let's do an entire episode about that, about digging in Super Mario Brothers 2.
About the sand feel of
Yeah.
Super Mario.
Sand feel. We'll have an episode entirely on wind mechanics and then digging in sand mechanics.
Let's do it.
Pepper Crater looks super fun. While I was watching the video, I was trying to guess what it would be called, and I was not close. I thought it would have like drill or dig in the name.
Like Dig Dug or Mr. Driller.
Yeah, or Mrs. Driller.
yeah. Lady Driller. I feel like Blanc is right up your alley, Patrick.
Yeah.
That game.
I
That seems
think
like a
so.
you and Magnus game.
Right. It does.
Um,
We've seen that one before somewhere, but yeah.
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 And then, Inscription is coming to the Switch, which is great news. World of Horror, they showed off a little bit of, which I played a little bit of at PAX South 2020 when we all went that year. I don't know if you guys remember that game. But then I guess the final thing is, Sports Story finally got a release date, right? Which is pretty amazing. That's looking good. You guys going to get that?
I don't know. I really enjoyed Golf Story, and I've been interested in it, but it's taken so long, and I'm not like criticizing them for that. So like, I don't know when it actually comes out. December, right? They said.
Yes, or January. Let me see.
It felt like
it
it was pretty soon.
Yeah, it's
So
December.
I don't know. I'll
Yeah.
have to see how I'm doing with Splatoon if I'm ready for something else.
You're a one game at a time sort of guy.
I don't know. I'm not normally, but right now I am. So
And it feels like this is a big holiday season
yeah.
with like God of War and Splatoon is getting updates.
gaming wide.
Gaming overall, there's tons of
Yeah.
games coming out.
Yeah,
And Pokemon's
that's true.
coming out.
Yep.
So many games capturing our attention.
Well, we'll move on then. There was a financial report issued by Nintendo. They had their 6-month fiscal year earnings. This is where they update the sales numbers for like the top 10 titles, and they update their hardware sales numbers and that sort of thing. So the Switch has sold not quite, but almost 115 million units. Working its way up towards that DS number that's just around 150. Not quite beating the Game Boy, but certainly will at this point, I would imagine, before the end of its life. And the top software titles didn't really adjust that much. Mario Kart 8 is like close to 50 million, I think.
Yeah. 48.4.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Continues to be crazy. And I mean, Animal Crossing's over 40 million.
You think that'll hit? Mario Kart will probably hit 50 million at the end of
Oh, yeah.
2022.
Especially with
like
that
it.
pack-in bundle.
Yeah. And we must remember it sold like 8 million copies on the Wii U. So
and then Nintendo had this, sometimes they have like these sort of visual aids, like slides and stuff. And I think they had a pretty in-depth, interesting one this time. Like, I don't know. I just found there was a lot of info on it about the like age of people that play Nintendo games now, and like how it's kind of what you might expect, right? Like kids, there's a bump up and then it goes down in teens, and then like wickedly up in 20s, but it's pretty high above that too. I just feel like the amount of people, and then a lot of their slides were about like examples of like, he played Pokemon when he was 12 and now he plays with his kid or whatever. Just kind of talking about IP a lot too, and what they're going to be doing with stuff outside of games, but how all their IP comes from games. I don't know. It's an interesting presentation. If that's,
I'd love to see those demographics in like 20 years, even. You know what I mean? Like how many like elderly people are like playing games at that point, I feel like everybody from our generation, like when we're old and decrepit, like we're going to be gaming nonstop,
yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So slower paced games probably, but yeah.
Yeah, should we pick out our hospice now so we can have LAN parties until we die? just Just consider it.
Yeah, just make sure your final resting place has good Ethernet ports all around. Yeah,
exactly. You understand.
A couple other interesting things. They announced the establishment of a new company, Nintendo Systems, is what it's called, or Nintendo Systems Co. Limited, but it's like Nintendo and DENA, which does some of their mobile work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are like creating this company together, presumably to do more mobile games. Wouldn't you expect? I don't know if they said that or not. But
All I want them to do is port WarioWare Twisted to phones. That's all I want.
And then they do a Q&A at these things, right? And I actually thought there was some interesting questions and answers here. In particular, they talked about somebody asked about backwards compatibility for the future, and like how, in the past, or I don't know. One of the questions was, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but like, how it used to be that new hardware wouldn't, would have all new software, and there's trade-offs, but whatever. And then Miyamoto's answer is very backwards compatible friendly. Like, I felt like the way, he didn't say they're definitely going to, but there's been a lot of emphasis on this Nintendo account sort of thing. And it just kind of made me more hopeful based on his answer.
I feel like, didn't he say we're looking at forwards compatibility?
I don't know if he said that or not. But
in the later of that question, he says, Nintendo's strength is our creation of new entertainment. So when they release new hardware, they plan to continue offering new and unique gameplay.
Yeah. Which I don't think
love
is,
to not answer questions.
But I think that all the stuff before that was essentially saying, generally speaking, it's becoming easier to implement, an environment where software from past hardware can be played on new hardware. I don't know. So it just again, there's no promises here. It just made me feel hopeful, but it could just be nothing.
I think they would be foolish not to have whatever this next Switch is not be backwards compatible. But yeah, we'll see.
There are some other interesting questions, but we talked about it a lot. Yeah. So that happened. Moving on, Nintendo also, I don't know a ton about this. David, maybe you can speak. I saw our article and I kind of skimmed it early in the week, but Nintendo apparently has some like internal rules about dealing with harassment from customers.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Apparently it's just like a new thing that it's like a new rule that they have where it's basically like if a customer that's trying to get like repairs or something done on their console or anything of theirs and they start treating you like shit, you can just turn them away. And I thought that was funny.
Yeah. And that's Japan, presumably. I don't know if that's a like worldwide
in the US thing. You just have to take it.
Yeah. Customer's always right.
Yeah. Harass me, daddy. That's what I say to customers.
Oh boy. Moving away from Nintendo for a minute, or maybe not entirely, but we got the Game Awards. So the Game Awards, hey, it's almost the end of the year. The Game Awards, it's happening on Thursday, December 8th, and they just announced all the nominees for all the different categories. And I guess what do y'all want to talk about? I guess game of the year, like the game's up for that.
We got Xenoblade 3 in there.
Xenoblade's in there.
Very surprising.
Yeah,
it is a little bit surprising.
I knew it would be in like RPG, right? And it's also nominated for soundtrack, which is excellent, or musical score rather. So that's really good. But yeah, game of the year. Do you think that's deserving, Matt?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I would have to really think about it. I haven't played these other games. I played Stray, but some of the other ones like Horizon Forbidden West, I gave up on because it was too repetitive. So that would be a game that I would not put in the game of the year. With that being said, maybe Xenoblade Chronicles 3 deserves to be in there. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. It's fucking you. Yeah. And I mean, it does seem, I haven't played Horizon Forbidden West, but from everything I've heard about it, it's like a pretty good sequel. That's what I hear. And so like seeing it represented and seeing it nominated for like 12 different awards was like, man, if any game paid to be there, it's Horizon Forbidden West.
That's it. Also, listen, I love Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I think it's great. But any award show, I'm immediately skeptical of. I was like, where does this game paid to be on here? Who do they pay? They're going to push.
Well, I
that
know
product.
at the end of the year, so many companies reach out to us with offers to pay for spots on the annual Switch Headz Golden Heads Awards. And
Always, yeah.
Yeah. And so, we know for a fact, being industry insiders, that happens.
Yeah, Devolver Digital hits us up all the time. I don't want to say more names, but Sega, all of that.
We've turned down lots of money to keep our integrity. Yeah.
Oh boy. Is there anything else you want to talk about? I mean, should we talk about the best family category, the Nintendo category?
The Nintendo category, yeah.
In best family is Kirby and the Forgotten Land, the only non-Nintendo game, Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, and then Mario Rabbids, which is kind of not, but it kind of is. Nintendo Switch Sports and Splatoon 3. So which Nintendo game is going to win the best family, do y'all think?
Yeah. Switch Sports. Let's go Switch Sports on this one. No, it's not gonna happen. I mean, probably Splatoon, right? I feel like Splatoon's gonna win something.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I like there's a couple new categories that I like. There's best adaptation now, which is kind of cool. So
is that movie presumably based
or
on
TV
like
shows
based on a
Yeah. So in that is Arcane, the League of Legends show, Cyberpunk Edge Runners, the Cuphead show, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and Uncharted, which was an awful piece of shit film. Saw that movie in theaters. That was dirt
So
under my
offensive.
feet. Yeah, that movie was really, really bad.
I appreciate strong language. I think it's funny.
Yeah. But it's just showing, I mean, like, obviously, that's becoming a huge thing now, right? People are really pushing for adaptations, and they've made a whole category for it. No, I mean, it's all most of it's pretty by the books. Sure, we'll talk more about this in a future episode covering this, but
Where are we going? Where are we going to watch it?
That's good.
are they showing it in IMAX?
Thursday, December 8th at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. No,
Cina, do you
IMAX.
think you could Cina, do you think you could stream this to your Virtual Boy? Watch it in 3D?
That'd be sick.
Yeah.
Give me a headache.
Yeah.
Take 10-minute breaks.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question. We should figure that out. But next up, the Disco Elysium situation, I guess we could call it, like ZAUM, however you pronounce that company name. I've never known. I guess that a couple
Zaum.
a couple of the folks that had been ousted posted up on medium.com like a explanation of the process of what's been happening and sort of the legal battle that's happening and all that, and how their company was kind of sold and how they're seeking legal remedies against that, and they believe that the company that took over by fraud and stuff. So it's kind of fascinating and sad at the same time, but you can go read that Medium post if you're interested in that, and I guess we'll kind of follow and see if they're able to, I don't know,
Pull in for a fucking success story on this one, boys.
Yeah. And then lastly, to close out our news section, what is it? This Friday, November 18th would be 10 years anniversary of the Nintendo Wii U's release in North America, which I think was actually the first market that it released in. So, yeah, does that seem right? Like, isn't that crazy? That seems like
it does not seem right, yet I guarantee you it is. It's true.
It's true. It seems like it should be older or not. I don't know. Both at the same time feel right to me. But yeah, so Wii U was obviously not the most successful console because the Switch is already turning 6 next year. Is that right, or is it already 6?
Yeah, it'll be 6 next March. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, a 4-year console cycle is not normal for
Right.
Nintendo. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, some amazing games on that thing. Obviously, a whole bunch of them you can get on the Switch, and it still is a delight to fire up. Matt, you had a Wii U, right?
Sure did.
Yeah. Do you miss it?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss the Wii U gamepad was so it was like a little light, but I still miss how great that it felt in my hands.
Yeah. Like one of those GameCube controllers that has a keyboard on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is strictly for Phantasy Star Online.
Yeah. No, but it looked like a Fisher Price, my first Switch.
Yeah.
But it was like it felt really good. And and the fact that it was light was great because it was big. Like if it had been, it had cheaper materials in it, but it like felt you could like play, I played Breath of the Wild with that thing. Like 100 hours of Breath of the Wild with the game with the Wii Pad. So, it was a great system. I really enjoy it. But one of Nintendo's rare failures.
That's right. And we're going to be talking about another one of Nintendo's failures, perhaps their biggest one, arguably, the Virtual Boy, when we come back after this break. All right, we're back. And this week we're going to be talking about the Virtual Boy, Nintendo's, I don't even know what you call this thing. Like in the mid 90s, this sort of quasi VR 3D piece of equipment that they put out, and it did not do terribly well. We'll talk a little bit about the history. We'll talk about the experience of using it. Cina, I did want to part of the reason we're doing this is because you have been sharing a little bit with the Switch Headz community about your journey of fixing a Virtual Boy. Is that right?
Yeah. So this is my childhood Virtual Boy that I've had since I was a kid. And it had been not turned on because this thing guzzles batteries. So it needs 6 AA batteries to run. And so I hadn't turned it on in 2 decades probably.
Yeah.
And recently I went back home and I brought it back with me. And I've got one of the AC adapter taps off of eBay finally. I'd always wanted one, but I never got one. So I got one, and then I plugged it in and turned it on, and it worked great. And then I tried to adjust the little pupillary distance thing that moves the lenses, and immediately one of the lenses just stopped working. And so I did some research on it, and it turns out that Nintendo cheaped out when they manufactured it. So there are 2 ribbon cables that connect the LCD array or the LED arrays to the motherboard, and rather than connect those ribbon cables with an actual socket that is soldered onto the little PCB that it's attached to, they used a very cheap method of just gluing the ribbon cable down to the pads, and after 20 years those always inevitably dry out and then become separated. It doesn't even have to be completely separated. In fact, when I opened it up, you couldn't tell that there was something wrong with it, but if it just gets slightly separated from the PCB, then it just stops working. So do you want me to keep going into this, or
That's a good question.
I have some questions.
Yeah.
First of all, you pointed out one of the bad things about the Virtual Boy, that it required batteries.
Yeah.
And it required 6 batteries at a time.
Well, some did, right? Because there is an
That's
AC
what I was
adapter.
going to ask you. Is that AC adapter, was that something, do you know? Was that something that was official? Was that something?
Yeah. So it's official. It didn't come with the Virtual Boy. It was an extra accessory that you had to buy. And then it's actually just the tap. So you then also need to get a separate wall adapter. And it's actually the same one as the Super Nintendo. So it's literally the same component, same model number and everything. So you have to have one of those plus the tap that fits on the back of the controller to accept the adapter plug.
Right, because the Virtual Boy is actually powered through the controller into the headset, right? It's a bizarre. We should maybe take a step back, right?
Sure.
Talk maybe a little bit more about like what this thing is actually meant to be. Although right now we do have Cina showing off the battery pack in the YouTube version right now, and the tap in the back. Can you show us the front of that controller there, Cina?
Yeah.
The Virtual Boy had a bizarre looking controller that actually like looks pretty fucking modern by today's standards. The thing had like 2 D-pads on the front. It had triggers on the back, and all that sort of stuff. But the device itself was Nintendo's first foray into like virtual reality, quote unquote. Right? I think that's what it was marketed as like it's a 3D device that you can be in a virtual world. But really, what it ended up being was a thing that you put on your desk and had to arch your back into.
Hunchbacked into.
Yeah, and it was notorious for giving people headaches. The screen was a horrible shade of red and black, just like an absolute failure on Nintendo's part.
Well, I think
my understanding is that the reason that it is table mounted and not a head mounted display is because there was lots of fear about radiation and this device being so close to your brain of, causing cancers. And so they put a metal shielding over as many of the components, which added additional weight.
That's right.
And then it was like too heavy to strap onto your head.
I think this thing was a failure for a number of reasons, and we'll get into them. But like, I think one of them is stuff like that, right? Like not understanding the risks and also just people being concerned. You said headaches. Like, I think it got a bad rap, maybe even a little bit. I remember as a kid, like, I don't think I ever saw one, but just hearing that like it's bad for you. You know what I mean?
That it kills children.
Yeah, like that it just is going to make you sick and stuff like that.
It could hurt
sort of
you.
the like.
So to be fair, I joked about it earlier, but I played it for 2 hours a week or so ago, and it's fine. Like,
yeah, I think the whole headache thing is a little bit of some like a little bit of an urban legend. I mean, maybe it's not the most
probably from like
experience.
resting your arms on a table and craning your neck the whole time. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna have some pain after that.
But to take a step even further back, I think it's interesting. So this technology that it uses was actually created by some guy named Alan Becker, who had some company called Reflection Technology, and he made some little device called the Private Eye, which was like over cover, like a little screen in front of one of your eyes that looks like something out of like a 1980s sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
And
or Google Glass.
Yeah, or Google Glass.
Yeah.
And like marketed that and tried to like get a bunch of toy companies or whatever to like to bite and buy it. And Nintendo did. And Nintendo like bought exclusive rights to this technology. And Gunpei Yokoi, who made the Game Boy and the Game & Watch and was at the time like big part of R&D1 at Nintendo, like was the one who was all about it and who made the Virtual Boy. But I think what also kind of sucks, and where you know this, not just that there was this problem of marketing and bad rap, but like Nintendo kind of rushed it. Like there were a lot of people were working on the N64 at this time, and I guess like the president really wanted them to get this to market, and so it seems like it kind of got rushed a little bit, and maybe just didn't get the time it needed. And so it was like a bunch of just bad circumstances that led to its failure, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of it had to have been. I mean, a lot of it is just the thing is just badly designed, right? like if you're gonna have a VR thing or something that you need to put your eyes into, like I think the idea was originally for it to have head tracking and to have movement and all that kind of stuff, and then just the idea that they were gonna putting it on a table and then moving your head to it instead of having it be on your face was just a mistake. Like that was a huge mistake. It really made it to where like, who is this fucking for? This thing isn't portable, even though it has Boy, which makes you think of Game Boy.
Unless
right?
you have just shit tons of AA batteries.
Right. Yeah.
Like-
Yeah. In addition to them being worried about radiation, which ended up not being a thing, but it was kind of like a new technology at the time. But it was like, in addition to that, it was also loud, right? Because the way that the 3D works, it's like these oscillating mirrors that go back and forth really, really quickly in the eyepiece. And so whenever those are whirring, it's like, you know what I mean? So it's like having that strapped to your face, like I could see getting kind of tiring. But, you know, in addition to that, I mean, like, you know, there were like warning labels all over the box and
Right.
all over the manuals and everything. So it's like all of a sudden, you know, like the fucking, you know, the panicked, if it bleeds, it leads, like, you know, parents who are like worried about their kids' safety are instantly like, oh, well, I don't want this thing to like ruin my children's eyes or whatever. So it was just, yeah, it was kind of doomed from the start.
Every game has its own like little bespoke prompt at the beginning that says, do you want to turn automatic pause on or off?
Yeah.
And so every 20 minutes or so, it'll like force pause the game for you and be like, take a break.
It's like a safety thing.
Yeah.
It's got to be to protect themselves from litigation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if people get headaches, they can't sue Nintendo or whatever. It's like, we made you not do it for that long. Yeah.
What were you going to say, Matthew?
Yeah, Nintendo's following some of the business practices that they do today, which is use technology that's abundant. Reading from the Wikipedia article, there was like LCD displays were becoming cheaper because the rise of digital calculators in the 90s were becoming popular. Following the Game Boy, which is used really old technology, but lasted really long and outsold a lot of their competitors like the Nomad and the Game Gear, which had better displays, but lower battery life.
Mm-hmm.
So Nintendo was just following what they normally do, is using older tech to sell an experience, but it ended up not working out in this case.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think just to kind of follow up on the history, the system only ever sold less than 800,000 units, and like it only was released in Japan and in North America. It never went to Europe or other markets. And I think after after 2 years or a year, they stopped producing them, and so it was not short-lived. There was 30 something games, 30 games.
I think there were 22, and 14 of those were released in the US, and the rest were Japanese only. Yeah.
So not
they
a
also
huge thing.
Nintendo made their own factory in China.
Oh, that's right.
Specifically to make the Virtual Boy. So they just took massive L's from start to finish on this thing and all avenues of production.
Yeah, but like, let's talk about the games maybe, or I don't know, what do y'all want to talk about? Like, if there's any other history, obviously, or facts.
Did y'all play Virtual Boy at a kiosk in department stores in the US?
No.
Yes, and that's the only time I've ever played a Virtual
Me
Boy.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. And to be honest, I couldn't get it to work. I didn't understand. I was like child. It was like what, 94, right? When this was coming out. So I was like 6, right? Or 6 or 7. And so it was like, you know, first of all, I couldn't like reach it, right? Like the way it was positioned, I couldn't get my head into it. And then secondly, once I was in it, I was like, the focus thing and the thing with the like the little sliders, it's just not intuitive for a like try before you buy sort of situation, or at least not for a child, right? I just didn't really understand it. And so I always wanted my parents to get it, but my parents also tried it and they were like, we're not fucking getting that. This thing is horrible. Like,
Yeah,
no way we're gonna
that
do
was
it.
my experience too. If
Yeah.
you're watching the YouTube video, you see a little bit video, some images of the kiosk. But essentially, my experience is that which the Virtual Boy, the thing you put against your eyeballs, you would adjust the height of it up or down to adjust to see, like if you're a small child or a large adult. I could never adjust it either, so I ended up like climbing on my brother's back to like put my head in it for a little while, or like putting like boxes or finding a stool from a different toy department to play it.
Yeah. I wanted it. I thought it looked cool. I still think it looks cool. I think the design of it is cool. I think the red on black, while horrendous, for long term, like I was playing, I downloaded a Virtual Boy emulator and I've been playing some on my Steam Deck before we recorded this, and just like playing on my Steam Deck and then like going back to the home screen and suddenly having color again was like smacking my face. It was like I had to readjust. You know what I mean? So while it's horrendous, I also think it's like kind of cool. Like I think the aesthetic is kind of cool. I think the controller is great. I thought the branding for it was really awesome. It made me want it as a kid. But I still wanted one. I still want one to this day, to be honest.
Well, yeah, in terms of like I've never played one. I don't remember ever seeing them in stores. And if I did, I don't know if I did. I just don't remember. But I kind of wanted one, but I also just feel like there was such bad market, or I don't know if it's marketing or just like bad luck in terms of like, yeah, it's going to make you sick. You're going to get headaches, motion, whatever it was. So I was not super jazzed about it, but I think that it has an interesting legacy too, in terms of the games, right? Like the first Mario Tennis, the first Mario Sports game was on the Virtual Boy.
Mario's Tennis.
Cina, what games did you / do you have for it?
Yeah, so it came with Mario's Tennis packed in, and I also bought Wario Land, Virtual Boy Wario Land.
Those are the big ones.
Yeah, those are the two of the best games. But Wario Land is by far the best game on the system, as far as I understand.
And can y'all talk a little bit about it, since I know, David, you were playing it, and Cina, you obviously owned it.
Yeah,
Wario
it's fun.
Land.
It's really good. It's a fun game.
Platformer.
Yeah, it's a platformer. It's basically a sequel, as I understand, to Wario Land 3, or sorry, Super Mario Land 3, which I haven't played, so I'm not sure exactly how it compares to that. But basically,
the gameplay is really similar. Yeah.
You're Wario. Your treasures have been nabbed, and so you're going through. I think there's like 14 levels or so, with like 3 boss fights peppered in between, and you just kind of go through the levels, kind of looking for secrets and looking for your hidden stolen items, and you can get some power-ups via some different hats you can get. There's like a bowl hat, which lets you charge and stomp blocks, and then there's also like a dragon hat, which lets you breathe fire. And then also, like, if you have both of the 2 hats, then you get like the ultimate dragon hat or something with like the powers combined. It's pretty cool. It's fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Wario Land games are awesome. And this is it's a good Wario Land game. And I mean, that's like the main reason I wanted to, not just because we were doing this episode, but the main reason I wanted to get the Virtual Boy emulator was to play that game. It's like this lost Wario Land game.
It's worth playing for sure. It's fun. I played through half of it before I left for traveling. And then I came back and I realized that my save was gone because the battery, the cartridge is dead.
Of course.
Yeah. So I only got through half. But
yeah, it's pretty great. It also reminds me a lot of, I mean, in a lot of ways, the Virtual Boy reminds me of the 3DS, and a lot of the ways Nintendo is going back to the Virtual Boy with the 3DS, right? But it reminds me of games that were made for the 3DS, like one in particular feels like it was pretty much inspired by this game, that being Mutant Mudds. You guys ever played Mutant Mudds?
No,
it's great. It's
about it.
Yeah, it's an indie game. It's on the Switch now. I really recommend it. It's on sale. The whole collection is on sale for like $2 all the time. Really great series, but it utilized different planes. It's like a 2D sprite-based pixel art game, but it utilizes background and parallax scrolling to have you be able to like jump backwards to like kind of play in the background. And Virtual Boy Wario Land was kind of the first game to do that, right? And it had you kind of move into the background while foreground elements are still going ahead of you, but it's using that kind of depth perception that you get with the Virtual Boy. That you can't really get anywhere else.
In reading about the Wario Land game and the Virtual Boy, I came across something that said that it was an influence for Retro's Donkey Kong games in terms of there are segments in the Donkey Kong Country retro games where you play.
Yeah, I was just going to say
the
that.
background
Yeah. It's a really really cool game mechanic, and again, I think that's probably one of the reasons that Donkey Kong Country Returns for the Wii was ported to the 3DS, was for levels like that, right, where you're actually playing in the distance.
There was going to be a Star Fox game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or what became Star Fox? I don't really know, but they like showed that off at some event, I believe, but it never released. But yeah, I don't know if any of these other games. I'm curious.
I think there's an adaptation of Waterworld starring Kevin Costner.
That's right.
There is. That was
another failed fit product.
Yeah,
there's a Waterworld Super Nintendo game that is also better than the movie. Mario's Tennis is like very basic. I actually watched a video with Linus Tech Tips where he was playing multiplayer with two Virtual Boys, because that was an original planned concept for the Virtual Boy, was to be able to use a link cable. They never released one, but fans have made a link cable that works, and people found multiplayer code in Mario's Tennis and unlocked it.
Wow.
So there's like a video of them like actually playing it online. There are a couple other cool games. There's one I think called Jack Bros. Is that correct? And that game is actually a Shin Megami Tensei game. Not a lot of people realize that, but it's starring what's the Jack Frost, right, from Shin Megami Tensei.
That's right.
And it's like kind of
Jack
this weird
Lantern and Jack's.
Yeah. And so it's like it's like a top down kind of 3D kind of just discovery kind of dungeon crawler sort of thing that's sort of in the Shin Megami Tensei universe. And then another one that I did try out on the emulator was 3D Tetris, which is a hilarious name for a game.
There's like a couple Tetris games on Virtual Boy.
Yeah, what's the other one other than 3D Tetris?
I don't remember exactly, but there's definitely more than one.
That's hilarious. But 3D Tetris is absolutely insane. It's basically like the way that it V Tetris.
There's Virtual Lab as well.
Yeah. V Tetris was just Tetris, but in Virtual Boy. That was only in Japan, I think. But 3D Tetris, the way it works is it's like quite literally the blocks are dropping away from you, and you have to you stack them. You're basically stacking in like a 3-dimensional space, and they come up, and it's like got this like little wireframe thing. And the way they show the 3D is it's just constantly like rotating. And so it's like really disorienting and bizarre. But as a huge Tetris fan, I definitely
have you ever played Tetrisphere for N64?
A long time ago, yeah. But I remember Tetrisphere being very good and very weird. Yeah. It's kind of like that, I guess, though. Yeah.
But we already answered this question, but there are emulators, right? Like if you want to play these games and you don't own a Virtual Boy, like Cina, you weren't one of the lucky 700,000 people to get one. You can emulate some of these or all. I don't know. Yeah. Right. David, is it pretty easy or?
Oh yeah. I did. Like I was saying before, I was like, oh, how do I find, I'm trying to find a Virtual Boy emulator for Steam Deck. And I was looking up like tutorials and shit. And I was like, oh, I just have it already. Cause I have RetroArch on my thing and it just comes with RetroArch. And so that was really easy to play. So like on Steam Deck, it's pretty easy to play Virtual Boy. You don't get the 3D, obviously. But if you do want 3D, I've seen videos of this online. They made a Virtual Boy emulator for the MetaQuest 2. And I think the first Oculus Quest as well. So that actually emulates the 3D of the Virtual Boy, like in a modern virtual reality headset, which seems like the best way to play these games if you feel like subjecting yourself to them.
I always kind of hope that somebody would make a 3DS emulator for Virtual Boy.
Yeah, to be able to just play on the 3DS screen. Yeah. Who knows? It's very easy to mod your 3DS, I hear. That's become a meme in some weird ways.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else specifically about the Virtual Boy before we kind of like maybe talk about just its legacy or of Nintendo's exploration of 3D and VR type stuff?
There were a few Mario games. There's Mario Clash, which I don't know too much about. But from what I understand, it's kind of like the Mario Bros. Yeah, the original,
the arcade game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like that, but in 3D. Was there another Mario game as well?
I mean, maybe just Mario's Tennis, but
yeah.
I know there was like a Punch Out style game called Telera Boxer. Yeah. That was like a pretty good showcase of the 3D as well. But
yeah, that Mario Clash and I think another game called like Red Alert or something, Red Alert Commander or something like that.
Red Alarm. Yeah,
that's it. Were the main games that I remember seeing at the store and then being like, I want Wario Land.
Oh man, yeah, I really want to get one. I've like hovered.
They're expensive now.
Yeah, I've hovered over several eBay listings of buy it now Virtual Boys many times, and have always stopped myself. But I think one of these days, when the disposable income is just right.
Yeah. So when I had bought mine as a kid, they were like on deep discount. They're like on clearance, and I probably
like $20
for like it's probably like $50 or something like that. And I think the games are probably like $10, $5 maybe. I don't remember, but yeah, I definitely got it like when they were trying to get rid of them.
Yeah. I know the thing originally debuted for like $180 or something, which now is about $300 or more. And so it was a hard ask at the time. It's also a hard ask because how do you advertise this thing? You can't like show what the effect is in print or even in video, right? So it's like commercials were weird for this thing, it was like a walking robot with like the stand being its legs and stuff. And it was like, you just basically had to try it to understand it. And then even that was difficult. So
it's funny that you mentioned walking robot, because that was one of the original commercials for Virtual Boy. It's this large, like ATST like creature walking through like a post-apocalyptic world seeking eyes of a teenage boy.
Weird stuff.
It's weird.
Who wouldn't want to play that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So we talked about kind of why it failed, this sort of perfect storm of being rushed and being weird technology that's hard to advertise and being like, got bad rap for making you have headaches and have all these warnings and stuff. But like this was kind of Nintendo loves to innovate, and they continue to, right? Like the 3DS. I mean, I think also a lot of the stuff is that, it's 3D, right? But the N64 was 3D too. And so a lot of their efforts were going towards that, towards making 3D games on your 2D screen. But like they continue to make 3D and VR things. We've seen the 3DS obviously been mentioned, Labo. I don't know. Is there any other things Nintendo experimented with in either of those realms? Those are the big ones.
Those are kind of the big ones in the 3D space, right? The 3DS, I remember when the 3DS came out, it was like, what? I didn't even really understand being able to see 3D without wearing glasses. You know what I mean? I still kind of don't exactly get it.
I think the 3DS, I don't think it succeeded because of that though, right? Like, that feature is a bit of a gimmick that you try and then you're like, okay, but I'm going to turn that off.
It succeeded because it had DS in the name.
and it had a good library, right? Yeah. Or it's supported and they cut the price and all that. And Labo, same sort of thing, right? Like I think, and also the 3DS and Labo both have all those warnings too, right? And there's a little bit of a fear of these things are not for young kids. There's I don't know that there's any proof that VR is bad for children, but there isn't proof that it's safe. So like Labo is VR has warnings about being a certain age, and they obviously didn't build it so that you could strap it to yourself, and which makes it hard to use. And
Yeah. There was that brief time when they came out with the VR Labo headset where they were just making all these games compatible with it. Do you remember that?
Mhm.
Breath
And
of
it
the
was like,
Wild and Smash
Breath of the Wild
and
is
Mario
100%.
Odyssey.
Breath of the Wild is 100% playable in Labo. Now the thing is, it's like fucking Virtual Boy, where you have to hold it up to your face. You know what I mean? You can't just like strap it to your head, right? So I don't know. So Nintendo's like hesitancy towards VR seems to still be there, right?
Yeah.
There's like a barrier to entry. They don't want you to play it for a long period. Maybe they're still burned, from Virtual Boy or whatever. But
I think that it's children. Like this stuff is being marketed to / Nintendo is marketing towards children, but there is like fears about children in VR that are real and or imagined that exist. Every once in a while on a rainy day, or when my kid was homesick for like a week recently, he wanted to bust it out, and we did. It's right there on the YouTube version. And it's kind of fun. But the holding it against, he gets tired. He's like, "Can you hold it against my head?" I'm like, "No, I'm not gonna sit here and hold this thing against your head." But I get it, right? And there's some games
if
where
you
have
loved
to
your
have the
son,
thing.
if you loved your son,
Yeah.
Patrick, you would hold it against his head.
But then he'd be turning his head randomly. How it wouldn't work.
Then you roll with the punches, Patrick. That's what being a dad is all about.
I'm glad everyone's here, Patrick. This is an intervention.
Am I being shamed
we've all
for not
gotten here.
holding
Hold
the Labo?
Labo against your son's face. Come on.
Do you guys think that Nintendo will ever venture into VR again?
Definitely. If they can find some way to innovate either through hardware, some integration of software and hardware, I mean, that's really what they do well. I don't know what that would be, but I would love to see something like some virtual world by Nintendo to go to or to see in 3D.
Yeah, I think that you say that right there, to go to. I could see them doing something at one of their theme parks.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
They already do that at like the
experience.
Mario Kart is they have like the headset you put on.
It's like an AR thing, right?
Yeah, it's not quite VR. Yeah, it's augmented reality.
I mean, they did AR with the 3DS too, right?
Yep.
With the AR cards and everything, right? I think they're so fucking close to it. You know what I mean? I think the thing that's holding it back right now is that the Switch is like slightly too heavy to strap to your face, and it's resolution and underpowered, right? But it's like if they could get a really thin, light Switch with a little bit more oomph to it, that you can then slide into a little plastic headpiece. Like, did you guys ever play Gear VR? Did you ever do Gear VR back in the day? It was like it was basically Samsung made like a little plastic headset that you would then slide your Samsung Galaxy phone into, right? And it was actually lit. It was awesome. You could use a little controller, or you could just control it all by touching the thing. But it's like, the only time I've ever been able to sleep on a plane was when I like strapped a Gear VR to my face and I watched the James Franco Planet of the Apes movie in a virtual theater.
What year is this?
I don't know. Whenever the Gear VR was out, and also that movie was available on BitTorrent. I
love this.
Like around that time.
I'm just asking. I wonder what other people like. If this is like 2010, 2011, other people on the plane are like, man,
they were. I bet they were weirded out. I like knew it was gonna look lame. You know what I mean? Like I knew I was in an aisle seat too, so like everybody could probably fucking see me. And it was like, but I really have a problem sleeping on planes. I can't sleep on planes. It's the only time I've ever been able to fall asleep on an airplane.
But that's the point where when it starts being acceptable to play VR outside of your home, well, it crosses a certain threshold. And I think once we cross that threshold to where average people are playing it like in a park or doing AR or VR stuff somewhere, I think that's when Nintendo will really go whole hog on it.
Well, somewhere in one of their departments, somebody's constantly
working on it.
with it.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I mean, I think it's a good thing to, I mean, it makes sense with the the USB-C on it could connect it to into your, or just just splitting the screen in half, right? And just having it on your face. And the controllers, all VR controllers are based on Wii Motion Plus or Joy-Cons, or Joy-Cons are perfect for VR, right? They're small. You can do them in a lot of different ways. So it's I think they're really, really close, and I would like to see it happen. And I think it would be cool, instead of doing another one. I think what's scaring them is doing another big bespoke, build, millions of units and hope that it takes off, right? But if they can make something that can use the Switch, and then if you want to do VR with it, you can. You know what I mean? I think it's still a little bit of a ways off, but it's man, I think it would be so cool. And I think I think Nintendo would do a better job with VR than most of these companies out here that are making VR experiences all the time, right? I think they would get it.
I think Nintendo's end goal is to have you play it at a rooftop party. Everyone is playing their VR headsets.
Always.
Can't put VR on a rooftop party. You'll just walk right off that roof.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But that's why you clicked on the warnings, David.
Make sure you don't play this on a roof, man. Only in handheld mode or tabletop mode.
Cina, I have a question for you. You've been repairing your Virtual Boy. What's the community support around this? The hobbyist in the Virtual Boy community? What's that like?
As I was getting into it before, these all will inevitably fail because all the glue will dry up. And so there's this fella named Sega Sonic Fan, who's an electrical engineer, who's as a hobbyist designed several iterations. I got the latest one just recently, version 4.0. But he designed this thing called Virtual Ribbon, and it's a little PCB that basically adapts the fine pitch of the ribbon cable to a larger size that can fit a standard ribbon cable socket. And then so basically the process is, and I should just preface this with, these PCBs are extremely tiny. They're just a little bit bigger than a postage stamp. So it's really hard to solder at such a small level. But basically it's he's selling these printed circuit boards, these tiny little things that you solder directly onto the Virtual Boys. Each of the lenses have their own little PCBs. And you basically solder those two things together and then solder a ribbon cable socket onto that PCB and then plug in a standard ribbon cable into your Virtual Boy. And so that basically permanently fixes that issue. And so that's actually making a solid connection with a much higher quality ribbon cable. The ribbon cable that comes in the Virtual Boy stock is super cheap and very thin, very flimsy. And so modern ribbon cables are much thicker and made to be more flexible.
Picture pulled up of this virtual ribbon PCB, and it's next to a dime, and it's no larger than a dime.
Minuscule.
Yeah.
So there's one guy, is what you're saying.
There are other things. Yeah. For this particular issue, this is probably the best solution. There are people that have there are a lot more questionable ways to fix this problem, which include using a clothes iron or a vinyl sealing iron to remelt the glue and re-adhere the thing.
Let's go. Now you're talking my language.
But it's so easy to burn through that ribbon cable and melt it because it's so thin and cheap. The stock ones are so cheap. Or some of these, the other very much not recommended methods are to take your PCBs and put them in a toaster oven, wrapped in foil.
Let's go.
Sounds safe.
Yeah. So some people claim to have success, but I'm sure that for everyone that succeeds, there's 10 other people that have melted their lenses irreparably. So there's that for that problem. There's some other mods that I saw while I was looking around into this. So a sort of well-known one is the virtual tap. And so that's basically a mod to add a VGA output to your Virtual Boy so you can plug it into a TV. rather than have to play it with your face up
Bent over
inside of it. Yeah. So that's kind of neat. The same guy, Sega Sonic fan, I think is currently developing something called Virtual Juice, which is like a replacement for the AC adapter tap to let it be charged via USB-C and like with a rechargeable battery, which is nice.
That would be sick. I know Shank Mods did a handheld Virtual Boy as well that like basically turns you take the innards of the Virtual Boy and you put it into this like new shell and it kind of becomes this like really pretty handheld. There's a really great video on that as well.
I'm looking at this virtual tap that you were talking about, which allows you to play it on a different display, but you can put it in different colors, not just red, but like yellow and greens and blues and magentas.
Let's all get Virtual Boys, guys.
Yeah.
and get that like link cable.
Yeah.
The mod. Yeah.
Let's not even. Let's all just get Virtual Boys and then just play them by ourselves in the same room.
Hunched over.
Yeah. Mario's
I'd really
Tennis.
like
That's it.
Yeah. I want to play Mario's Tennis against computers with you guys by me.
I'm in.
Great.
Well, anything else before we close this out?
I mean, it's a fascinating piece of Nintendo's history. One that they've surely learned from and are clearly still hesitant on doing something similar to this again, I think. Like they've used elements from it, and I think they still have the itch to do something like this, but they're scared to put all their eggs in one basket,
One thing that's kind of I'm wondering about right now is, has Nintendo acknowledged the existence of the Virtual Boy since its failure? Like,
yes,
I'm trying to think of. Oh, they have.
A couple times. There's lots of Easter eggs of it in lots of different games. And actually, there's a Did You Know Gaming video about the Virtual Boy. It's like 10 minutes long, and if this has fascinated you, go watch it. And then at the end, they list like the 10 games that reference it. So like in Animal Crossing, I can't remember which one. If it's New Leaf or some other one, you can buy it. It's sitting up on a shelf in like
WarioWare, I think.
Like it exists in the background of like 5 different Nintendo games. And Smash,
in Tomodachi Life, a bunch of people like dance around it like it's a sacrificial altar. But Tomodachi Life is just a weird fucking game. So
they dance around everything.
They dance around the N64 DD. So
and then there was also and I think it's that same video. I can't remember. I read a few different things where like Miyamoto like looked back at it in some interview. And it was like, if you think about it as just a toy, then it wasn't a failure because a toy selling 700,000 units is pretty good.
If you multiply 800,000 by like 10 or 20, it's pretty good.
If you decide that one person bought it, it's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was trying to think if Smash Brothers Melee had like a 3D model of it in it as a trophy or something.
I think one of the references was a Smash game. I can't remember which one though.
Yeah,
and I could be wrong about that, but I believe there was a reference in a Smash game.
Well, I'm eagerly waiting for Tolero Boxer 2. Maybe one day. Maybe one day we'll get that for the Nintendo Switch family of systems.
Maybe we'll get Mario's Tennis too someday.
I would like them to add Virtual Boy to NSO though. I think that would be hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, after Virtual Boy failed, Gunpei Yokoi left Nintendo.
Oh, that's right. That's an interesting piece of history.
And then died almost
immediately. He got
in
like,
a freak
hit by
accident.
a car. Yeah.
So, like, I think he actually went freelance or whatever. Like
he made his own
still
company.
did do some work for Nintendo after. But yeah, like a lot of the blame I think got heaped onto him, and I think maybe unfairly because it sounds like he didn't get a lot of help, and he was told he had to ship it and that kind of thing.
Well, it was his baby. I mean, like he was the guy who like was really fighting for it, and no, he was ashamed like of that whole thing. So much so that, I mean, I think he was like gonna leave anyway, at some point. This was like kind of his final hurrah, but he like was the creator of the Game Boy. He was on top of the world. He was like, thought he could do no wrong. And then just like flew too close to the sun. And then,
it was very red
rest of his life in shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, but rest in peace, Gunpei Yokoi. He did die. It was a freak accident before his time. He deserved to have a comeback tour.
Yeah, he worked on I agree. Yeah, I agree. He does deserve that.
Yeah.
I was also going to mention after he left Nintendo, he worked on Bandai's Wonder Swan.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I think that does it then. Yeah, if you had a virtual boy.
Do we get all the factoids out? We got
If not, tell us what they were. But yeah, if you had one or there's some interesting fact, because there's a lot of interesting facts about this that we missed, definitely send us a note. We'd love to hear from you. And then, yeah, that does it. We'll take another break. And when we come back, we'll talk about the games we've been playing. Everybody's probably tired of me saying that all I play is Splatoon, but it's true. I don't know what else to say, y'all. I play a lot of Splatoon. So
Patrick, I will now say it. You need to play some other games. You got to play some other games, Patrick. There's a million of them out there.
There are a lot of games out there, but I'm happy. I did play some Celeste. I've been playing every once in a while. I'll pick up a platformer because I'm curious about how a platformer game handled something, and then I kind of got sucked into playing Celeste again. Actually, I was like, so that is the only game I think I've spent even a moderate amount of time in the last week or so. Celeste is great. I got sucked back in by just kind of wanting to see the opening cutscene and feel a few of the mechanics. I don't know if I'll spend a ton of time in it, but yeah, we'll see.
Have you watched Andor yet?
No.
Watch Andor and then play another game.
Live your life, Patrick.
I'm just fucking with you, obviously.
Stay on your island.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's a fun island.
Stay on Splatoon Island.
Yeah. You said you're happy, so that's great.
I am happy, yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. I'll go next. I've been playing Bayonetta. I think I'm going to push through and complete Bayonetta 3. I'm really enjoying it. Yeah. It's so fucking absurd. I love how over the top it is. It's great. Having so much fun.
Is there a marker that you can give us, like a chapter number or anything?
I'm on, I think, chapter 6.
Very good.
Yeah, it is so fun. It's so silly. I like it.
Have you played God of War Ragnarok yet?
No. I think that might be like a Christmas break.
Yeah.
Game.
You liked the first one, right?
Yeah, loved it. It was great. With like Pokemon Scarlet coming out this week, I'm not gonna try and start God of War Ragnarok. I can't play like 3 or 4 games at a time. I need to play like either 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
The other game I've been playing is with the winter update to Halo Infinite. Now it has online co-op, so I've been playing online co-op in Halo Infinite a bit, and it's very fun.
Nice. Is that the campaign?
Yep.
They took them this long to get that out?
Yes. It's taken
wasn't that supposed to be out like in March or May or something?
It was supposed to be out in August. It should have been out in launch, which was around this time last year.
It's supposed to be a fucking launch game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it finally
it's on the back. It's on the back of the box for the Xbox Series X.
It's supposed to have online campaign co-op, but now it's here and it works. It's fun. It's fun to like. You have unlimited grapple hooks, so you just like grapple all over and get real silly with it.
Cool.
David, what about you?
Yeah. I've been playing the old classics. Been playing some Picross. I played obviously I talked about having played a shit ton of the Splatfest. Had so much fun. Shout out to the Howdy Hat Squad. I think like whenever we finished, it was like me, AVK, Ivy, and Ty Typos. And it was the 4 of us, and we basically played on Sunday like 7 hours straight. Like it was just like it was like my whole Sunday. Yeah.
I had a family event that day, and I remember like it's one point looking on the Discord on my phone, and the 4 of y'all were on there, and then like several hours later.
Yeah. And we were all still in there. Yeah.
They're still in there.
Yeah. Yeah. And we were playing the whole time. We took one 30-minute walk break where we all went out and walked for 30 minutes around our respective neighborhoods, and then came back and then finished up the Splatfest.
I love that.
It was great, dude. And we were on a fucking roll too. Like I said, we won 100X battle. We did a lot of great stuff together. There was like at one point we had like a 5 or 6 win streak. We had a really good win ratios. So we were like, let's not break what isn't, or let's not fix what isn't broke. But anyway, Other than that, played some Smash also the other day with my friend Charles Martin. Shout out to Charles if you're listening. He's probably not, but that was fun. It's the first time I played Smash in a while. And then Lunistis is a game that I love so much. I want to recommend Lunistis right now. Patrick, I thought of you so many times while I was playing this game. I think it's a 3D platformer. It's not 2D, but it's kind of like a cross between like a 3D Sonic game and like a Crash Bandicoot, where it's like the levels are kind of like narrow, like they're like very linear, right? So it's like kind of made to be a speed game, kind of like the Tori games, which I've also been playing recently. And then it's kind of like Sonic because it's got grind rails at times, and at times like the camera will kind of pull out to like a more cinematic thing as you go around loop to loops or whatever. But man, it's just an incredible game. It's so good. It's on. I'm playing it on Steam Deck, but it's on Switch. It's only $5, which is insane. And it has a demo, so you really have no reason not to try this game out. It's really, really good. It's got the kind of like Sega Saturn PS1 sort of low poly art style, but it's super colorful and vibrant and rich, and has a really cool main character. And it's just so much fun to play. You can play with like trying to get the collectibles, or you can do speed runs, right? And it's a really great game. I really recommend it. It just felt like such a revelation. I streamed it a little bit on Saturday and was just having such a fun time. I just kept like stopping myself and being like, oh, I love this game. And then finally, sorry, do you have a question, Matt?
Did you get through Phantom Pain?
Yeah. That's the last game I was going to mention. I basically have finished the game. Cina, God bless you. Cina has been with me on this entire fucking journey of streaming all these Metal Gear Solid games. I feel like it's become a ritual for both of us. Yeah. Every Wednesday and Sunday. But it's like, I rolled credits basically on Phantom Pain. So there are post-game missions that I'm still not 100% sure if I'm going to stream or not. Right. Like, I've looked it up and a lot of people are like, there really isn't that much more to the story once you roll credits. Right. So I think I might be done with the year of Metal Gear, having gone through all of the games in the series back to back. Has been an absolute revelation. Like Cina was actually asking me, you were in my chat on the last stream. I think for most of that stream, it was just me and you. And you were asking me what my favorite is. And I don't know if I could tell you because it's like, they all feel like one big long game to me in my mind. And I think that's like such a cool thing about those games. Man, really, really enjoyed that game a lot. So much so that also my dad told me that he tuned into a stream at one point and now he's bought the game for his Xbox and he wants to play it as well. So I don't know. I feel like Metal Gear Solid is a good game for dads, to be honest. But yeah,
do you want to announce something to us?
I'm a father.
Yeah.
Me and Quiet are expecting a new child.
Nailed it. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
you really.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. People are always like, David, why are your girlfriends always so hot? Well, there's a secret, but I'm not going to tell you what it is on the podcast. Anyway, that's all I've been playing recently. Cina, what about you, man? You been playing anything maybe whilst traveling?
Not too much. Like I said, I played a little bit. I played about halfway through Virtual Boy Wario Land. Before that, I'd been playing a bit of Mario Strikers Battle League, which has been fun.
Nice.
And actually, while I was in San Diego, my friend had he just got the new Oculus Pro headset. Quest Pro.
Oh, like the $1,500 one?
Yeah.
Wow.
How is it?
It was cool. It was the first VR that I had played, like since the first Oculus dev kit or whatever that I tried at Juegos Rancheros once. It was cool. I played like this little mini golf game. It was fun. And then he also had the Valve VR headset. And so I played a bit of Half-Life Alyx. And it was fucking cool.
Yeah.
Isn't it fucking insane? That game.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I didn't get very far. I only got to like where you get the gun. And then
But you started out on you get the markers and you get to write on the window.
Drawing little dicks and stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of people are doing that in Sonic Frontiers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like
That game's
sniffing the
intense.
markers. And,
Getting high.
yeah,
Can you get high off markers in that game?
No.
That'd be
Yeah,
cool.
you
but I
can.
tried.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I tried.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. And then like I realized that after I stopped playing it, like reality felt virtual. It was weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Wild
was
feeling.
I was talking about that with somebody the other day. I don't know if it was on the podcast or not, but the first time I ever did VR was over at my buddy's house. It was a DK1 of the Oculus development kit, and we played a Half-Life 2 mod. And looking over the edge whenever the Combine soldiers are shooting at you and you're on the roof gave me like a sense of my stomach dropped and I had vertigo. And then when I went out onto, it was my friend Andy. And when I went onto Andy's like balcony on his like third floor apartment, I looked over the edge of his balcony and I got the same feeling in the pit of my stomach that I had just like moments ago when I was playing the game, and it really fucked with my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To the point where I was like, I don't know if I want to play VR.
That's how I feel. Like it kind of fucks me up
Yeah.
when I do it.
It'll destroy the eyes of children. So
Yeah, there should be warnings on these games.
Yeah, having played that after just having played Virtual Boy's like version of virtual reality, I was just like, oh, it's too much.
Where's Wario?
they should go back to black and red for virtual reality.
Oh,
man. We need it.
Awesome. That's it then. Thank you so much, Cina, for coming on and talking to us about your Virtual Boy experiences. Thanks to MilkyWay.co, who does our website. Thanks to Corduroy for doing our music. If you're looking for me, Patrick, online, you can find me most places as PDYX.
Hey, I'm Matthew on Twitter. MATHYOU.
I'm pretty much everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And what about you, Cina? Where can people find you online?
Find me in the Discord. Find me on Twitter at 1000Hertz HZ. Although don't know how long Twitter will be around anymore.
Yeah.
So it's true. It's a total
Find me,
shit show there.
connect with me, add me to your professional network on LinkedIn because I'm looking for a job.
Hire this man.
Yeah. If you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Switch Headz on Twitter, at Super Switch Headz on Instagram and Facebook. We got a website, switchheadz.com, and we've also got our Discord, like Cina just plugged. Make sure you join our Discord. It's a great time. It's such a wonderful community. People all the time. I was talking to Ty Typo. Somebody was asking, I think ABK was asking Ty Typo, is like, have you been on the podcast before? And he's like, oh, no, I just joined, this Discord like 6 months ago. I was like, dude, the pipeline from listener of the show to guest on the show is pretty short. So join that Discord. Also, like we said at the top, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, man. We doing video content on the YouTube channel. We do video versions of the podcast every week. You get to see our beautiful faces, along with a lot of wonderful side video content that further explains the kind of stuff we're talking about. So shoot a subscribe over there. Even if you listen to us on audio, we'd love your subscribes and your likes and your comments. This is a super fun episode. This is a nostalgic episode for something that was not a part of my childhood, so I really enjoyed that. We're going to be back next week with the all brand new episode. I'm not going to tell you what it's about, but it's probably a topic that we're not very well versed on, but we're going to talk about anyway because it's the big release this year. So make sure you tune in next week for that. And then other than that, folks, you know the drill. Stay safe out there. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. We love you guys very much. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.